welcome back to Evil's Comics. This guy right here is Evil Mike, or Mike if you prefer, and I got a review for you today. From Dark Horse Comics, we're going to be talking about Canary, issue number 1. It is written by Scott Snyder, art and colors by Dan Panosian, letters by Richard Starkings. I'm sorry if I mispronounced any of those names. I might have on the artist. But before we get started, please like, comment, and subscribe on this guy's channel. Hit that bell. You never know when I'm going to be dropping new reviews. I don't have a schedule, but that'll keep you in tune. It's all free, didn't cost you anything. So let's get started, right? This takes place in the Utah territory in 1891. Basically, we meet our main character, and that is Marshal Azrael William Holt. He is called into a murder scene, an investigation in a schoolhouse, and it happens to be this teacher who was murdered by her student while giving a presentation, using some eggs during her presentation, talking about the future of territories and unionizing and stuff like that. For some reason, one of the boys all of a sudden, just during the presentation, got up from his desk, walked over to the teacher, and sliced her throat during the presentation. And everybody in the town is a little baffled. The sheriff has called the marshal, and hence the marshal is investigating. The sheriff deems the classroom a crime scene and everything, and mentions for nothing to be touched. And as kind of a joke, you see our dude William Holt, which is this guy right here, and this guy, and he ends up taking one of the eggs, and eating it. And it's funny because all the eggs were kind of mystery eggs. There was chicken, there was birds, there was even some snakes, some turtle eggs. And the sheriff makes a joke like, "Did you know what egg that was?" And our dude is like, "No, I didn't know. I didn't care. It's breakfast." Eventually, the sheriff assigns a whole bunch of men to be deputized to head to the next location, which is supposed to be the home of the little boy. His name is Jack Apple, and his family, the Apple family. They live on the outskirts of town. The sheriff has, offered to deputize these men to go out with the marshal, and the marshal is like, "No, I don't need any of these guys." At this point, there's mention that our marshal is a little more famous than we know, because he's like the sheriff and a couple other people have mentioned that his story has been told in Western dime novels and stuff like that. So he's kind of like a celebrity, let's just say. So we get this scene where our dude, the marshal, rides up onto the Apple, I don't know, foundation, because that's kind of what it is, kind of like an encampment or something. But basically they greet Holt, tell him not to come any further. Holt tells them, that by the authority of the United States, that they need to release the boy, which the boy comes out, and he starts talking to Jack. He wants to know if Jack is like the Westerns. Does he have that mask? And if he shows him that mask, he'll show him something in return. Whoever the man with the apple, they don't, might be his dad, his cousin, his uncle, we don't know. But whoever this is, he kind of, he tells Holt that if he comes any closer, that they'll shoot. While this is going on, Holt tells the guy to shut up, but he's just talking to Jack, and he does put on the mask. It took me a little bit to recognize what it is, but it's an upside down coffin. This guy keeps talking, and he's like, "Look, what we're going to do? We're going to ride out." And then as soon as he says that, he's like, "We're going to ride on them horses." And as soon as he does that, our dude Holt kills all the horses, and he's like, "Oh, those horses?" As soon as, that happens, the rest of the Appling gang is like, "Fire, take him down," and Holt just pretty much goes through his whole crew and clique and kills or dismembers most of them. We do find out that he didn't kill all of them. He just dismembers and just wounds some of them, so not this whole boy's family doesn't die in some weird shootout. But at the very last moment, his mom runs out there and tells him, no, I don't care what, you're not going to take him, our family's been through a whole bunch. And she's not even noticed most of the rest of her family are dead. But while this is going on, she's reaching for a gun kind of thing, while Jack is over here like, nah, Mom, I just need to show him something. He showed me the mask, so I gotta show him something. And she ends up pulling up the rifle and tries to fire on Jack, and Jack shoots her dead in the head, and she goes down. Holt finally walks over to our dude Jack, and Jack, he's like, all right, you ready to see what I'm going to show you? And he ends up taking out this egg, and he tells a story about how while the teacher was doing her presentation, she pulled out this egg, and it happened to be a monster, a Gila monster specifically. But it was still alive, and somehow the boy could tell it was still alive. So she was actually going to like destroy the egg, and that's why he ended up killing her, kind of thing. So after this, Jack takes the boy to like town and takes him to the I guess the sheriff's station, whatever. He ends up calling City Hall and using the telegraph, and basically talking to his boss, and he gets the location of the, his next ordeal that he has to go to. Being assigned to the case, he's heading back to somewhere that he knows, and it's I think it's Utah Hills, and it's in Denver, I think, and it's the town of it's a mine called Canary. We find out that William Holt has known, he knows the town, and not only that, but he has some history with the town. He kind of tells his boss that he don't want to do it, and regardless, his boss is like, I don't care what what you want to do. I'm your boss, and you're gonna do it. The United States is making you do it. You're a marshal. So we jump back to 1883, and we get basically why he's famous from this town, Canary, because we are in the Canary mines, and it involves this guy. I'm drawing a blank at his name. His name is Hiram Tell, and Hiram Tell has killed hundreds of people, and the marshal is on his trail, and he is tracking down to this Canary mine or whatever. He gets there, and this dude is creepy. Basically he's staying in the water. Holt's telling him he needs to arrest him, kind of thing, needs to come out of the water, and this guy starts telling the story about he can't come out of the water because his children are waiting on him. Then we get some more of the story from this guy talking about, that his children are coming, he's got to wait for his children, but he wants to tell them about himself, that he's evolved, that this dude has like teeth down the back of his throat, and he ends up catching this fish, and as he says this, and Holt's like, man, you better come out of the water, I'm gonna shoot you, but as he's telling the story about how he's got like teeth in the back of his throat, and how like when he closes his mouth, you can hear the teeth nibble, and to prove it, he ends up eating this fish whole, which as he's doing it, they show like little sound effects with the nibble, like he was really telling the truth. It kind of looks like right here he dislodges his lower jaw, looking like a abnormal creature kind of thing. The book jumps back over, and it's just basically his boss, like, I don't care what you got to do, but you're going to Denver kind of thing. So we get chapter 2, and it's basically our dude, we're getting a little more from the story, and basically at this point, this guy's, this Hiram is telling him about how he's evolved so much. He's got mouths all over his body, in his stomach, on his back, and yada yada yada. So we find out why William Holt's after him. It's because he blew up a train, killed hundreds of people, and then kidnapped a whole bunch of children, and that's why, basically all of America at that point was looking for him. We do find out that's what made him famous, is him capturing this guy or killing this guy and bringing him to justice, kind of thing. So we got Holt, and the whole idea for him to go to Denver is because all these cases are starting to get connected. It seems like there's all these weird murders, and they're kind of tied to these Canary mines. So one person believes, and we meet that one person, and they call him a bone doctor, but he's an archaeologist, and he has a theory that somewhere in the mines that there's this bad water, and the water's affecting people, making them go crazy. We hear about some other accounts, not just the little boy Jack Apple, but we hear, some strange tales about, like, a wife being a loving mother and stuff like that, and all of a sudden just killing her family. And we hear like a preacher, killing his flock because they got mad. He got mad for some reason. We hear about a lady that was at a play, and she ends up killing everybody in the play because she didn't like the play, kind of thing. So they assume all these things or this one person assumes that all these things are connected, and the U.S. government kind of puts merit into that. So that's why they sent Holt to meet this guy. When this man is Edison Edwards, or Ed for short. He doesn't like the Ed part, but it kind of fits, Edison Edwards. But basically, the marshal is going to accompany him while he does his scientific research on the mines to see if anything is linked to any of these murders, and that's where we're headed. And so we get in this, this caravan. I'm drawing a blank what you call them, damn Western. But he's getting in this buggy, the stagecoach. There you go, stagecoach. Come on, Mike, get with it. We meet these other two gentlemen that greet both of them as they're getting on the stagecoach. We meet this Mayor Kenrick Jimmer, and then we meet his assistant Jack Hughes, and the mayor just goes by Mayor Jim. So they're greeted, and the reason for is because of Marshall Holt. Because he is that famous, he's featured in Western novels and stuff like that. His story is known, but not only that, because his past is from this town. He's like a celebrity from this town. They put this town on the map, kind of thing. So they're supposed to be here to greet the archaeologist, but the mayor is just fascinated with Holt. He just wants to talk about Holt. He wants to remind him about his history, even though it's Holt, man. He lived it, kind of thing. Holt doesn't want anything to do with it, and from the backstories, it doesn't look like this guy wants to be thinking about this weird situation with that killer, kind of thing. I'm gonna flip through most of this because that's kind of what most of it is. It's just that the weird conversation between the mayor and Holt, and him just idolizing over this guy Holt. We do go back to the backstory, and we see that eventually, he did end up shooting Hiram, and Hiram mentioned that it doesn't matter if he shoots him, he's going to keep on coming for him, and in strong suit, just like that, he's coming for him. So he shoots him some more, eventually claiming that Hiram is dead or whatever. Holt jumps in the water, and we see like the hundreds of kids. The guy was talking about children. He's waiting on his children to come. Well, we see them, and then most of them have disfigured faces with the teeth everywhere. So some of his story, was kind of ringing true, kind of thing. But before he can start, unchaining these dead children, sad to say, we see that this dude jumps back in the water, and he's still coming for this guy. The story jumps back over, and we're still in the stagecoach, getting closer to Utah Hills and Denver, and it's just more on the story and stuff like that. It even goes as far as like the mayor saying, quoting his actual book to him because he's read it so many times. Eventually Ed has to get uppity with this mayor, and he's like, look, you might like this guy, but it's really Holt. Holt sticks up for Ed, and he's like, look, we're here to do the scientific stuff. That's all we're going to do. After that, we're leaving. And the mayor's like, oh yeah, I can stay for months and this kind of stuff. And and the marshal's like, no, we're here to do, check out the mine, see if the murders are linked in any kind of way, see if if something is causing these murders, and that's where they leave that off. Eventually they make it to the town, which we hear that once they arrived to town, they were traveling in first class mysteriously. The marshals did not set that up. We meet a bunch of key figures from the town, a photographer, like a nurse, people that own the restaurant, I forget who this metal guy is, a telegraph guy, and of course the mayor or whatever. The mayor wants to set up this whole like photography thing as soon as he gets there, and Holt is not for it, neither is the archaeologist, the bone doctor. They just want to go get a drink. They eventually blow off the mayor. Mayor kind of giving them this, sad, but like, okay, I guess you can go drink kind of thing. They eventually do make it to the bar, and we meet a major character, and her name is Maybelle Warren. It's not known right off the bat. She's right here. There's a little conversation with Ed thanking Holt for sticking up for him in the ride. There was a moment when they got off the stagecoach and Holt was trying to carry the bone doctor's luggage for him, and then the mayor stopped that. And so Ed was kind of like, hey, thanks for all that. So we do meet this major important character, Mabel Warren. Well, we found out the Canary mines were built by her father. Some Warren, I don't know his name, but her dad, Mr. Warren, Dr. Warren, something like that, and built this mine. They were working it. Something bad happened, and everybody kind of died inside, including the her dad, the person who built this mine, kind of thing. So we find out that her daughter, Mabel Warren, was the one who paid for this whole trip, including hiring the bone doctor, the marshal, paying for the first class stuff, paying for their hotel and food while they're here, to figure out if the mines are possibly connecting to these weird murders. We find out that she's been reading all these headlines, keeping track of all these weird murders, through the newspapers and stuff like that. And she has an inkling that her father was up to like some no good, and she wants to clear her family name of that, and that's why they've been hired, kind of thing. Eventually we get this moment where the mayor walks in and then tries to mingle with our dude Holt again, and of course he's not having it. They finish their drink and they get up and leave. The very last thing that is said is kind of like that after Mabel expresses what is her reasoning on hiring them and finding out if anything nefarious is, they mentioned something coming up to the surface, and that's when we get this picture of the caves or mines down below. It looks nefarious and a certain nature, kind of thing. But that's where this issue leaves off from. It is a double-sized book. We get a preview and a little paragraph. I can read you that. It says, while the marshal's tragic past continues to reveal itself, he and Ed meet more of Canary's key figures, with one in particular that might forever change the course of Holt's investigation. But that's it. That's all we got, man. I love this book. It was great. The art was fantastic. I was just looking for a Western read that felt legitimate. I'm not looking for like a fantasy Western read, and this hit the bill. I want to say it does have an element of fantasy, which might be cleared up as just the pulp fiction part of the story, kind of thing. Man, but I loved it. The story, the writing, the character development, everything in it. The reasoning on why we're on this journey, kind of thing. But that's my review. These are my thoughts. Let me know down below. Did you read this? Did you pass it up? Did you not even hear about it? Let me know any of those things. If you made it this far, go ahead and hit that like button, please, please, please. It does help. But that's all I got for you guys. I'll let you go.